most popular comic book in the world today is coming to life. Sneak preview of X-Men this Saturday morning on Fox.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons. I am Pops. X-Men animated series. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Dark Phoenix was a great story in the comic books, and it's being adapted here in multiple episodes, and we're in episode 2 called The Inner Circle. So we're going to talk about that. I'll give you my thoughts on that, what I like and what I didn't like. Appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with me this morning. Now, I've always said that the Phoenix Saga comic books are possibly some of the best that have ever been written, let alone best X-Men. And I think that this is probably the best adaptation that you're ever going to find of the Phoenix Saga, because it is so complicated with so many characters, so many different layers with how they want to handle things. In the recap of this episode, I think it's very crucial, especially if you're kind of a novice at the show or comic books, because the recap goes back into Jean and the Phoenix and the crystal and the powers and all those kind of things. So a lot of that stuff's kind of brought you up to speed to where we are now, where we're in this conflict with what they're going to call the Inner Circle, because the Hellfire Club is what the original group is called, but the name was changed because it was a kids show and they didn't want to keep that as the name. And here we really have a good time kind of diving into the show. Again, through this recap, I want to get to real quick here, because I think there's really some fun stuff that's in there, because it does take you through all of the different elements that we have with Jean and the Phoenix and how things come into play, so that we're not like left to our own devices to try to keep track of everything. They just did a really thorough recap, and I'm really glad they did. So one of the struggles that we are always going to have with the X-Men shows, X-Men movies, is what do we do with Professor X? What do we do with Xavier? Because Xavier is way too powerful to be involved with a lot of these different sequences, maybe different villains and those kinds of things, because his power set is so incredibly strong. So what we do here is we have him reaching out with Cerebro, and Emma Frost is doing a block. So therefore he's sort of like, I have to rest and recover. So he's sort of like taken off of the chessboard, so to speak, for this episode, because we got to do something with him. So he can't communicate with Jean, we can't communicate with Phoenix, those kinds of things. So that's how they deal with Professor Xavier. All the X-Men had been captured at the end of last episode. You see they have these sort of like restraining things on them that kind of work. I've always wondered, does Scott need to touch his face to make his eye thing go? Is that how it's done to the visor? Could he just figure out how to flip his glass off and close his eyes when he needed to? It seemed like there was a way they'd be able to get themselves out. Storm couldn't make the ice form or something like that. I don't know. I don't know that was it explained that it's a power dampening type of hold thing that they're in. I don't really know that. This is how my brain works. Sorry, I know it's a kid's show. I shouldn't even be going this deep, but that's how my brain works. So this is how Jean is presented. And again, remember that you're using a combination of different characters here to convince Jean of like an alternate reality. And all of that sort of like comes to a head because she's basically called the Black Queen. And then Mastermind is the one that has used with Emma to help make sure that they deal with the Cyclops factor. So basically, Cyclops is like an anchor to Jean's reality, and if they're not careful, it will create a problem for them to control Phoenix for their own devices. Now, meanwhile, Wolverine did not get captured, which I think is great, and you do have a great moment with Wolverine where they're searching for him, and then he kind of emerges. And then he has a confrontation with them there. Let's see, this is the shot. Yeah, this is the best. So let me put the graphic back up, because I want to try to have a little bit of the audio.
This metal known and can slice through vanadium steel.
So this is literally "Do You Feel Lucky" speech, the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry. You know, these are adamantiums. They'll cut through anything. Do you feel lucky, punk? It's that type of speech. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
Like a hot knife through butter, buddy.
They'll cut a hot knife through butter, buddy.
You gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky?
It's so fun. Oh my god, he throws the gun down. It's like, oh my god. I did not remember this at all. This was by far my favorite part of this episode. I gotta be honest, I'm almost ready to like clip just this and keep this piece from this episode because this was fantastic. I love this sequence. So, in fact, I think I will do that. I'll make a note of that. So then we end up into like the middle of the episode, which is a lot of the bickering. Wolverine trying to get in there to save the day. And then there's like this false reality with Mastermind and Cyclops. Cyclops, when he's in this alternate place. Basically, it's in Jean's mind. He doesn't have powers there and that kind of thing. So that's what all of this is. It's just this whole big sequence of all this, and then the power struggle, the power conflict with Mastermind and Sebastian Shaw and the other members of the Inner Circle. And I will admit, a lot of this I felt was kind of tedious, but at the same time, this represents the comic book. The comic book spends a lot of time. Chris Claremont does a really good job of introducing sort of this sophisticated and elegant mutants, not mutants that are interested in putting on capes and tights, mutants that are very much into power for themselves, manipulation, control, dominance in a completely different way. And I think that one of the problems I think with Kevin Bacon in First Class, I'm not going to dog on First Class. I actually like First Class, and I like Kevin Bacon as Shaw, but it didn't feel quite right. It didn't give me this sort of aristocrat feel, right? The aristocracy, if you will, of the mutant population. I think that's kind of what the best thing would be to explain Hellfire Club, and again, it's for the show Inner Circle. But but I will say this: look at how great all the animation is. I mean, there's intricate details on every little element. Um, these episodes have been really, really well done. Very superior thing here. And there's a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of battle, a little bit of pushback before they get themselves free. And then you end up into like a total free for all fight, throwdown. Again, I will always complain because the music is gone. We don't play that cool X-Men theme. Look at that shot though of Wolverine. Isn't that incredible? That's the best. That was such a great shot of him diving down like that. I love that shot. Storm using Snow to get the upper hand. It's all about trying to get the upper hand over Shaw and Mastermind and some of the others. But what ends up happening is Phoenix herself begins to regain her conscious control. Jean is basically just sort of like a prison in her own body, in her own mind. And here she removes Mastermind's powers and basically reveals him to be the old version of who he is, and then she basically becomes Dark Phoenix, and that's what you get. So she goes from Black Queen to that. So I will say I really enjoyed all of this, and again, the animation is just so next level on all of this. I just really loved it. Just beautiful shots, beautiful motion and imagery with everything that they're trying to accomplish with all this. It's great. So uh, don't really have a lot of new commercials or anything like that, guys. So I apologize if I'm recycling. I know many of you do comment on the commercials, so do my best to put something in there. But listen, there's multiple episodes. The next one I think is called Dark Phoenix. Um, it's a great comic book story. If you can just go find yourself a cheap trade paperback if you want to read it or get a digital copy or something like that, it's a really great read. Very complex, lots of characters, lots of intricacies, first appearances, chaos that surrounds Jean and Cyclops, with a little bit of the stuff that they're about the relationship with Wolverine as well. So just great stuff, and just really kind of hard to believe, and really how much I appreciate the show for what they're able to accomplish for younger audiences. So great stuff. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. I am Pops.
Saturday mornings are turning
Fantastic. Beethoven! Fantastic. The movie Slobbering Beethoven has his own series. Then Disney's Great Adventures comes to CBS. All new Aladdin.
Skeletor! With He-Man gone, the magic of Orko will be mine. Prince Adam, we gotta get out of here now!
Skeletor, Orko, Prince Adam, and He-Man figures each sold separately.
Help! Help, Prince Adam! Looks like a job for He-Man. Trick's on you, bone face. Yarg!
Prince Adam and Orko with Coin Trick, new from the Masters of the Universe collection, each sold separately. Other action figures also sold separately. From Mattel.
Would that be my spider sense returning? What's that? He's back. Way to go. Don't let those overgrown tin men keep you down. What? Just too many of the big guys for you, buddy. What? Hold on tight.
Can Spidey handle a Sentinel's blast?
Whoa.
Grab a copy of this month's Spider-Man. Marvel Comics, it's mayhem for your mind.